actually discusses movies. Be aware that it may discuss any of the following elements: endings, surprise twists, unexpected cameos, and all manner of spoilers. If this doesn't appeal to you, why listen to a movie podcast? Without further ado, please enjoy our feature presentation, The Shameless Picture Show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Shameless Picture Show. I guess this is weird because when we're recording this, it's in between season 3 and 4. I don't know if this is technically a bonus episode, if this is going to be a full-fledged episode. I don't know. I just know when the final Star Wars movie, at least the final Skywalker Star Wars movie is coming out, me and Kyle always talk, whenever we sit down to record, we always talk a lot about Star Wars before we hit record. Some of it makes its way into the episode, but I thought, I just want to give Kyle, who's probably the biggest Star Wars fan I know, just a chance to talk. We're going to talk about Rise of Skywalker, but I figured we just talk about Star Wars in general and just see where the conversation goes. So,
well, and it's, let's face it. If there's any movie that is on, people's shame lists, it should be Star Wars. In a weird way, Star Wars is pop culture cinema. It's the essence of it. If you had to pick it in one movie, it's the original Star Wars, at least.
Exactly. So those of you who have not listened to every episode of the show, the voice you're hearing is my good friend Kyle Arpke. He is an independent filmmaker and freelance video artist here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and also the biggest Star Wars fan I know.
Yeah, we're sitting in my apartment, and we're sitting in the living room, which is filled with Star Wars stuff.
It's honestly easier to pick out how much stuff isn't Star Wars.
Maybe I'll take some photos, or you can take some photos and post them if you want.
We'll post them up on the Instagram. Okay, so everyone can see. But it's interesting. So you're talking about Star Wars being pop culture personified, and it's still on people's shame lists to this day. Star Wars is an interesting phenomenon because was it on Jess's shame list when you guys met each other?
Yes. And
then now she's also equally as big of a fan.
Yes.
And I find that fascinating.
Yeah, my fiancé and I have been together for 5 years. Getting married in 2020, which is exciting. But I introduced her to Star Wars, and it's funny. So I actually sat her down about a year into our relationship, because then I think that's about when they started announcing, Force Awakens is coming out and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I told her, I said, so, I'm a Star Wars fan. And she's like, yeah, I know that. And I'm like, no, I don't think you realize just how big of a Star Wars fan I am. And I say that because in college, we went to experimental art school. I'm not going to sit here and tell people, other artists that I love Star Wars.
He's not. You didn't make the first impression than I did. Where on the first, our first class, there was what filmmakers do you like? What do you respect? What did you want to come to film school? And everyone else is choosing pretentious directors, or Christopher Nolan was a big one at the time too, because he was mainstream but pretentious at the same time. I remember I said Sam Raimi and John Hughes.
Nice.
So you didn't make the first impression that I did.
No, I think I gave Apocalypse Now as my favorite film or whatever at the time.
Still on my shame list.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be an episode this year.
We gotta watch that. That movie is so good. But anyway, so before college, maybe just to give people just an understanding of what kind of person I am, I went to an arts-based high school that allowed us to do different projects, semester-long projects, and I had wanted to learn screenwriting.
Yeah.
So the way I taught myself screenwriting through this semester-long project was by writing episodes 7, 8, and 9 of Star Wars. So I ended up writing, and they were all very short scripts, but I ended up writing, I want to say 180 pages in a semester.
Wow.
and learning screenwriting that way. So I was that kind of nerd, and I was the kind of nerd who almost got arrested at school for wearing a Darth Vader costume on the day that Revenge of the Sith came out, and my National History Day project was all about the marketing of Star Wars and how it changed.
I've known you for so long, and I've never heard that you almost got arrested for wearing a Darth Vader helmet.
Oh yeah, so that was great. Yeah, basically, so we had like a high school's got like their one like cop or whatever that's on premise or whatever, and he was like
Ours was Miss Nordville.
I forgot what this guy's name was.
I actually very surprised that I was able to pull that out.
But yeah, he saw me in the mask. He's like, "You gotta take that off." So I took it off, and then I put it on when I walked across the hall, put it on, and he caught me 3 times. And after the 3rd time, he's like, "If you do it again, I'm gonna arrest you."
And you just slowly put the mask down.
Yes, that's right. Give him the 2 middle fingers and
then you got
the
arrested.
stunner. Yeah.
I do have to say, what's funny to me is the entire time I love the very slow progression of this apartment becoming a shrine to Star Wars. It started with like your pop vinyls in the front of the TV and a couple little things. And then I feel like I just came over here one day and it just was like Star Wars exploded.
Oh yeah. Well, I had been waiting for a long time to get all of the stuff that I have like framed.
Yeah.
So there's a lot.
Frames aren't cheap.
No. So there's a lot of stuff here that's framed, that's Star Wars, and stuff's really cool. But what had happened is, once I had the conversation with Jess, then, within four years' time, I basically created another uber Star Wars fan. We've gone to 2 celebrations. We went to Galaxy's Edge this year on the opening day. And then the way I saw Rise of Skywalker was we went to the El Capitan movie theater in Los Angeles and sat through a 9-movie marathon, capping off Rise of Skywalker.
I remember you said to me and Amanda one time that he's like, "Oh, I love talking to you guys because he's like, you're the biggest Star Wars fans I know." It's like, how is that possible? I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's even true anymore. It was probably true at the time when you said it, but it's like you are so much more. And like I always thought I was a big fan of it. You are so much more than I was.
I mean, I don't know many people that do know Star Wars as well as I. There's 1 or 2, but their general knowledge of Star Wars tends to go like they have a lot of the like extended universe knowledge and that kind of stuff, which I sort of shy away from. And that's probably because I'm a filmmaker. So the films mean the most to me.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you, how tall an Imperial Star Destroyer is or who was the general of the Battle of Sullust or whatever. I don't know that shit. But I do have an uncanny amount of Star Wars knowledge. And I also really enjoyed learning about the history of Star Wars and what it did for the history of filmmaking. In college, going back a little bit to college, one thing that was kind of sad, I sort of lost a little bit of love for Star Wars in college because in many ways Star Wars is what destroyed another era of filmmaking that I love, which is the sort of 70s auteur filmmaking. Yeah. Once Jaws and Star Wars happened, that style of filmmaking then became indie cinema. It was no longer something that you could just go and see at your multiplex.
The 80s, like the type of movies that were made in the 80s are direct response to Star Wars and Jaws. And it's funny, like it's almost very sad and sombering when you listen to interviews of Francis Ford Coppola and he talks, because George Lucas was his assistant up until he made Star Wars. And he says in interviews, he said it multiple times, that he's like, George Lucas is one of the best minds I ever knew in film, and Star Wars consumed his life so much that we're never going to see. He said people are not going to see the genius that he was.
I'm really sad when he sold Star Wars to Disney.
Yeah.
There was one little thing that he said that really excited me, which was, "Oh, now I'm gonna go off and make my own little movies." in my basement. And or in my garage, and people will probably never see them or whatever. And I thought that meant more along the lines of by people would never see them, like they'd be really small indie movie kind of things. Like Francis Ford Coppola, after his big successes, it's very hard to see the films that he's made in the last 10 years. They were very hard to find in theaters. But with that being said, you could find them.
Yeah.
Lucas hasn't made anything that we know of.
I was hoping he was going to make something kind of small, intimate, and personal. It's like, for lack of a term, I've been calling it the Tim Burton effect, where Tim Burton will make all these big, very Tim Burton-esque films, and he'll feel very detached and whatever, but then he'll go and make something like Big Eyes or a Big Fish or something that's really personal and interesting. And it makes me realize, this is why this guy is such an interesting filmmaker. And I was hoping that, George Lucas would have his Big Fish or something like that. Or... Because, he also made American Graffiti, which is such a different type of film. And then, I don't think he directed. I think he produced it. That movie Red Tails or something that didn't do very well.
That.
But, I want to see him do something.
Well, I figured that things would be more like THX 1138.
Yeah, and then even just and it also makes me roll my eyes now too. There was a period of time where George Lucas's name was a fucking sin, and now people were now the big news is George Lucas might be coming back to Star Wars. It's you guys didn't want anything to do with him a couple of years ago, and now you're hoping that a George Lucas cut exists and all this other stuff. I was make up your minds. Let the man count his fucking cash and make something. I hope he wants to make something that's not Star Wars. Right. I hope he hasn't just been burned by the business, because we'll talk about it more here in a little bit. But one of the reasons that I do have a weird respect for the prequel films is George Lucas. They're the most successful indie films of all time, because he made them completely on his own dime in his garage, and that's part of the reason why why a lot of the effects in them are not the best. Because not that necessarily that they're bad, but he just didn't have everything else he had in the other films. But it's he's just no, I'm gonna make these films, and I have a lot of respect for that.
Totally. Absolutely. And it's being someone who, was born in 1990. So
me too.
Yeah. Phantom Menace came out when we were 9.
Yeah.
So
saw it in the theater.
We're in this place, period of time where the prequels do mean something to us.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I will always, to some extent, enjoy them all, and I will almost always rewatch them all.
I just did it. I just rewatched the prequels.
Yeah, and I'm someone who understands what they are. I'm a filmmaker. I go, okay, I see your pitfalls, and I'm content with people not liking them. I get it. I understand it, but I'll forever still have a love for them because they are part of Star Wars.
I feel like I'm labeled very much now as a George Lucas apologist.
Okay.
And I'm a defender of the prequels. I'm not saying that they're the best Star Wars movies ever made. I'm not saying that by the long run. If you even just look at my ratings for them, they are rather low on the grand scheme of things. But I feel like people have a hard time finding anything of merit in the films, to the point where I was saying to you the other day at a hockey game. I've seen people online that no matter how much they hate, say, the new films that are coming out, they'll always have to add comma, but they're better than the prequels.
Yeah.
And while the quality of the new films is in fact better than the prequels,
right,
I will say I will rewatch any one of those 3 prequels before I rewatch Rise of Skywalker.
I mean, this is a good intro right into Rise of Skywalker, I guess.
Yes.
I guess, yeah, I mean, let's just talk about Rise of Skywalker here.
The elephant in the room.
Yeah, so I mean, I saw it after...
You saw it probably in the best possible way you've ever seen
right,
it.
after seeing it for 24 hours worth of movies.
Or maybe even the worst, because I feel like by that point you're delirious.
Exactly. So this was, I saw it the first time in that situation, and then the day after,
Still at the El Capitan?
No, we went to the IMAX. The IMAX at Universal Studios.
Ooh,
City
on City
Walk,
Nice.
which is it's so awesome. Just an aside.
This podcast is all asides.
Oh, okay, good. So everyone should go there, and they should go there and watch the trailers, because I nerded out seeing the the fonts in the trailers, like, ooh, coming next summer. Like, when you see that font, I was nerding out because it was huge. It was just so huge, and I'm like, this is so cool. Every single one of the movies that they played like trailers for looked like they were going to be the greatest fucking movie ever.
That sounds awesome.
So yeah, it was so I saw it, after going through a huge marathon, and then slept, and then the next day I saw it in IMAX, and then I've seen it one more time.
And at this point, at the point of recording this, I've seen it twice.
Okay.
And the second time, I was gonna see it a second time anyways, but I rushed to see it a second time before we did this by request of you. But I was gonna see it the second time in the theaters no matter what. I kind of have to. Jess
and I said to each other that we'd see it a third time, and then when I knew we were going to do this podcast, I went out and saw it. The first time I saw the movie, I absolutely hated it with a passion.
I think your exact words were, I think I hate... you even said at this point. At this point, I think I hate it the way that people hate The Last Jedi.
Yes.
And me and you both genuinely like The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect film, but
right.
It's one of my favorites of the new ones.
Yeah. And that's one that did have to grow on me a little bit, was Last Jedi.
Yeah.
But I'll say and I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about this throughout this conversation, I really hate how sort of divisive everyone is with all of these films that are coming out. Everyone hates Last Jedi like it's ruined Star Wars. They hate the prequels like it's ruined Star Wars. I was kind of disappointed in myself that after I saw Rise of Skywalker the first time, I went, this ruins the new trilogy. This was a waste of, how many years of making new Star Wars movies. That's literally how I felt the first time. The second time, seeing it on the big IMAX screen, I went, I think I'm content with this movie. However, the third time, I went back to going, no, this movie is not good.
I remember my first thought, when we saw it, so this is a spoiler-ridden podcast. I'm just going to say it now. If you've not seen Rise of Skywalker, I'm going to talk about shit that's happening. Well, one, my thought when the movie ended was literally, this movie's dog shit. And I'm not that negative of a person.
It's funny because I consider you to be someone who's very lenient on films in general.
Yeah, and we're going to get back to that. Like, if I would have recorded this podcast right after I saw it, it wouldn't have been good. I always take a little time to stew on it first, because I'm not the type of person who's just going to be positive for the sake of being positive. But at the same time, I try to think I'm trying to be relatively critical, where even if I'm a firm believer that there's very few times where I feel like a movie's been a waste of my time. There's something about it that I like. But I remember my wife, Amanda, is also a pretty lenient viewer. It's very rare that she says, I didn't like this movie, or this movie's bad, or something like that. She'll but she's usually, she likes most things. It's not necessarily a bad thing. In the middle of Rise of Skywalker, when Kylo Ren and Rey were having their lightsaber fight on the Death Star, the ruins of the Death Star.
Second Death Star.
Yes. When which I was hoping that they were gonna do a little bit more with that, but they didn't. But when Rey stabs Kylo Ren and then heals him, and they're like hinting at a kiss, Amanda she leaned over to me. She's like, if they kiss, I'm fucking leaving. And she's like, I don't know how to tell Michael that I'm walking out of a movie. Because she's never walked out of a movie. I've only walked out of one. And it was the John Cusack Raven movie. And I walked out because I was falling asleep in the theater.
Nice. So, further spoiler alert, they eventually do kiss.
Oh.
Right.
And that pissed off Amanda too, but she said at least it didn't happen earlier.
Yeah, so the theater during the marathon.
Yeah, tell me about the atmosphere there.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
What did Josh Gad think of the movie?
Yeah, oh yeah, I should say that. Josh Gad sat right behind me during the... He didn't come for the whole marathon, though. Not to out Josh Gad here, but he only came for the final trilogy. Just saying.
When you're Josh Gad, you can show whatever the fuck you want.
I guess.
He's Olaf.
Yeah, but he sat right behind us. It was very entertaining just to like know that I'm like, oh yeah, this is a total like Hollywood thing that would happen.
Here's an aside about Josh Gad real quick. He was in a one-season TV show with Billy Crystal that I think was very underrated called The Comedians, where they play each other. They're Josh Gad's playing himself, Billy Crystal's playing himself, and it's about two guys who don't like each other who have to be in a TV show together.
That's fun.
It's not revolutionary in any way, but I really wish they would have got a season 2. Anyways, continue.
Nice. And I should, after we're done recording this, I got more LA
dirt stories.
LA stories that were just weird, fun things from my trip there. But
cool. Do tell.
But with
we can always put it on at the end of the episode.
Oh yeah, that's true. But this marathon, the prequels start, and the whole thing, like when we started this thing, was like, the friends that we went with, they generally try to sleep through the prequels, and a lot of the theater tends to do that, or they'll laugh during the prequels. They almost treat it like a showing of The Room, where you go and kind of heckle.
Disrespectful.
Yeah, it's a little disrespectful.
Don't get me wrong. There's some dumb shit in those movies.
Yeah.
And it's okay to laugh. Like, me and Amanda have been quoting Anakin Sand's speech ad nauseum. It's terribly great.
Right.
But
yes. So basically, everyone would laugh at the bad dialogue in the films. They'd laugh at that, or they'd laugh at things that were like prequel. Like there's a section of Reddit called prequel memes, where it's a lot of memes on the prequel films.
There's some pretty decent ones.
Yeah. So any lines that like are derived from that, there's a lot of laughter that would happen from those. During Rise of Skywalker, I kind of, not to be melodramatic or overdramatic, but I kind of sat there in horror because people were cheering at everything, including the kiss. So much of that theater was just like...
#Raylo.
Yeah, they must have been these Raylo people that were like, whoa, yeah, they kissed. And I'm just sitting there like in dread being like, this is the stupidest thing. This is not where the story was headed. Like, what are you doing?
How was the crowd reaction to the Palpatine review?
Yeah, I mean, people enjoyed that quite a bit. I mean, they enjoyed pretty much everything that you like would think they would... People could like
the jokes been going around online. It was a movie written by Reddit.
Yeah, right. And it was very strange to be like, oh, that's the audience I'm sitting here with. Like, out of hardcore Star Wars fans, they're those hardcore.
It
Star Wars
felt like
fans.
to me like those memes you see where like, I let a bot watch 1,000 hours of something and they wrote this movie. That's kind of how this movie felt to me a little bit.
The IMAX experience was much different.
Okay.
So that was an audience that looked like everyday, moviegoers that just wanted to go and see a Star Wars movie. Whereas the marathon crowd, like 80% of the crowd cheered for the kiss. Maybe 20% of the crowd cheered for the kiss in the IMAX the next day.
I feel like I go to boring movies. No one cheers at movies anymore. At anything I go to.
Anytime you see Star Wars opening weekend, you're going to get a lot of that kind of stuff.
Fair point.
Especially opening day. And I think that's probably true for the Marvel films, but I'm not sure.
Know.
Yeah, I haven't seen them opening day.
I saw one opening day.
Yeah.
It was Thor. Halfway through the movie, the film got eat up in the projector.
Which was probably
it was great. Grace. It was at a great moment, too, because it was like right when they're trying to pull out the hammer from the crater, and like Stan Lee's they break off the bumper from the truck, and Stan Lee looks. I was like, did we get it? And then the fucking film rips, and I was like, that's the best placement for it. That was great.
That's great. So I guess I don't know where we want to start with Rise of Skywalker. I think we should just start with the beginning of it, which is where you can already make criticisms from the opening crawl.
Okay.
And my biggest problem with...
What was that first line? What was that? I cannot remember the verbatim.
The dead have
That was it.
spoken.
And I just remember
Right.
rolling my eyes at that.
So that line is bad. But what's really bad about it is what the crawl is about is what the movie should have been about. So instead of just telling us that, hey, Palpatine is alive now, what if they had to go and find him and figure out he's alive?
Yeah, especially because we never figured out how they found out. It's, later, only a couple scenes later, Poe has his whole speech, Palpatine's alive. And it's like, well, we know this.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, why do we have to tell everyone?
And I guess they got to tell everyone because as an audience member, you don't believe it. You're like, it's just not a believable thing. And they don't, with that, even that being said, them saying that Palpatine's alive doesn't make it seem believable in the story either. It's just like...
I don't know what was funnier for me, the fact that Palpatine was indeed alive or the vat of Snoke's.
Yes. Yeah, what's with these vat of Snokes?
And they're just like, they all look just so fucking dumb.
Here's another thing with the vat of Snokes. The filmmaking...
That's our new band name, Vat of Snokes.
The filmmaking in this movie is a little strange to me.
Yeah, so J.J. Abrams is a very competent director.
Yeah, you'd think so. You'd think that.
Well, I guess I should say I really liked Super 8.
Yeah.
And I liked his first Star Trek. So
I liked his first Star Trek. I did have this conversation with Jess, though. This is kind of another aside, but it's still Star Wars related. When you look at... Have you seen Mission Impossible 3 that he made?
Yeah.
Okay, you've seen Star Trek.
Yeah.
You've seen Star Trek Into Darkness.
Once, but yeah.
Yeah, me too.
It existed.
You've seen Force Awakens, you've seen this new Rise of Skywalker, right? I'm going to say besides the Millennium Falcon, going through the Star Destroyer in Force Awakens and the lightsaber duel in Force Awakens, name me an action scene that he has made that you're like, hell yes, I need to watch that action scene again.
The only one, I don't even know if it's necessarily a scene I need to watch again, but the only one that really sticks out to me was in the first Star Trek, for lack of a better term, the parachute scene. When they're outside and they're I think they're trying to repair something. And
I'll give you that one. I will. I forgot about that.
That's a pretty good scene. It's the scene that sticks out the most to me in that movie.
Totally. I've totally forgot about that scene, but now that you bring that back up, I'm like, yeah, that scene's great. For the most part, though, it's like, out of all the Mission Impossible movies, somehow, even though it's a good film, the action isn't remarkable.
Well, do you remember when we were... I don't remember when I told you about this, but there's a theory in screenwriting and just crafting an action scene together called Good News, Bad News.
I don't think so.
So Good News, Bad News is, if you think about a well-crafted action scene, it doesn't have to be necessarily a big set piece or anything, but just to create tension in a scene, it's called Good News, Bad News. So let's use Solo as an example, because the first time it was described to me, they used this scene as an example.
Okay.
Beginning of Solo, when Han has to take the stuff he was supposed to steal back to that slug lady. Yep. I don't remember any of the characters' names at the moment. And I'm going to kind of run through this, but the situation is it's oh, sorry, things didn't go very well. Well, bad news, we're going to kill you. Well, good news for you, I've got a detonator. Bad news, I know that's a rock. Good news is I'm going to throw it and break a window and light's going to come down and I'm going to be escape. Bad news is they're going to chase after me. Good news is there's a speeder and I can get away. Bad news, they've also got speeders. And it's a series of good news, bad news. And even the movie The Peanut Butter Falcon, which we talked about off mic, I guess technically, they had that where oh no, Shia LaBeouf is pissed off these rednecks. They're coming out. Bad news, they're coming after him. Good news is he's got his boat right there. Bad news is he can't get at the start. Good news is he does get at the start and he gets away. Bad news, they've also got boats. Good news is he's a little further away. Bad news, there's a knocked out there's a sleeping person in this thing, and it kind of goes oh, good news, he's hiding in some reeds. Bad news, they're right there.
Yeah.
When I was watching Rise of Skywalker, I was watching it the second time when I'm actually looking for some of this stuff. It was the scene. It was the they have jetpacks now scene. Where
Jetpacks now?
I'm not gonna lie, that beat made me laugh. Where they're trying to get away, and not saying you have to do the good news bad news thing to try to create tension, but it would do it for a little bit. Like, oh, good news, bad news, they got jetpacks. Good news, we're a little further ahead. But then it would go bad news, bad news, bad news, bad news. Good news, bad news. But it was very weirdly paced.
Well, the whole movie is very weirdly paced. But so my one point, is J.J. Abrams can sometimes craft really good action movies, even though the action is not always memorable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely true of Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, I agree. The whole movie is paced really weird. There's also like really easy things that you could do that would get an audience that he doesn't do. So I was kind of going back to the Snoke thing. The Snoke in the vats or whatever. The vat of Snokes. That could have been a really cool reveal shot if Kylo Ren like walking into this area and all of a sudden, boom, whoa.
Oh, yeah, but instead it's a background
Snoke,
gag.
and then you like cut back and you go, oh, it's Snoke. It's a vat of Snokes. And you could have used, I guess I use that as, and that's very traditional storytelling, but at the same time, what's good about it is it's connecting Kylo Ren back to Snoke. That relationship that we know that they have could have been amplified a little bit more.
Yeah.
And there is none of like that in this movie, of like letting an audience remember, like giving them a chance to go, oh yeah, this person, this guy's connected to his past or whatever. Mm-hmm. It just goes and goes and goes. It does a bad job of being a sequel to The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Some people say it does a good job. I think it does an awful job of being a sequel to The Last Jedi. The other thing that it does that to me is the cardinal sin of making sequels is I don't think that it adds anything to it. The new trilogy now almost takes away from Star Wars to me. Like having, if you end the Skywalker saga at 6 movies, at Return of the Jedi, it's such a great ending. People can talk about how it's maybe not the most perfect Star Wars movie. Yeah, that's true. But it's the perfect ending to that story.
Yeah.
And if you're going to make a sequel series, then you've got to have a better than perfect ending. You've got to add something that's worth adding so that when people watch all 9 of these movies, they go, oh yeah, it was worth seeing these extra 3 because it adds more to this overall story. I almost feel like it subtracts it. It turns Jedi into this weird... It basically turns them into superheroes.
Oh, that's one of my biggest complaints about it. Both the Jedi and the Sith.
Yeah.
Everyone is so overpowered.
Right.
Like, I didn't like when Force Awakens happened and everyone was referring to Rey as a Mary Sue, because I never really viewed it that way.
I didn't either.
But I don't believe that the amount of power she has in this movie could come from the amount of training that she's had.
Yeah.
Not saying it's not possible, but
it's just silly.
It's especially too because like, so I don't buy I don't disbelieve that Leia had Jedi training from Luke. That yep. I can buy. I can get that completely because she was strong with the Force. She just didn't know how to channel it. I just have a hard time believing that she can learn so much from just Leia. Where Luke, who had to figure most of this stuff out himself through using the Jedi texts, even he didn't feel comfortable enough with his abilities. So, and I know some of it does come down to natural gifted abilities, but then like I rolled my eyes practically out of my head when I'm supposed to believe that Palpatine's so powerful that he can destroy like dozens of ships with Force lightning.
Right. The whole thing is ludicrous.
Or even the tug of war with the spaceship. Like, anytime someone had to lift anything heavy with the Force in any of the previous films, even Yoda, we're always meant to believe to be the strongest Force user of all time,
It's difficulty.
struggled lifting heavier things, but she's just going to, with ease, stop that ship from going somewhere.
It's super strange. And they do, like, they prime you right off the bat of, like, you see Rey is, like, hovering, when she's training, she's, like, hovering in midair and does all these kind of crazy sort of training things. And you're like, oh, she's really powerful now. But then it's just like, oh, she's really powerful. And now she can pull down ships, and now she can heal things.
It reminds me of that Freddie Prinze Jr. video where he ranted about Star Wars, and he pretty much said that video games have fucked people's view up of what the Force is.
Well, the whole movie's a video game.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so weird. It's like 2.5 hours, or more than 2.5 hours. And everything goes by so quickly. You can't stick around with anything. You can't let anything breathe. And none of it makes sense. And it's just like, oh, well, it's basically like it's like Tomb Raider or whatever. It's like, oh, hey, you got to go get this thing. In order to get this thing, you get this sword to go on this ship and to get this
it's what I said.
Wayfinder thing.
It's what I said to you at the hockey game. And it's not a quote that, it's not an original me thought. The horror host and film critic Joe Bob Briggs, he says it all the time in his reviews. There's a lot of plot. There's too much plot for the story. There's more plot. How did exactly he words it in a very specific way? The plot's getting in the way of the story.
It's totally.
There's so much, point A to point B, and then when it comes down to it, none of it matters. And I don't view that as a plot hole, because that was the whole thing of Raiders of the Lost Ark, because the Nazis were going to get melted no matter what.
Yeah.
It's just like we're going on all these crazy adventures with all these weird characters that we've never seen before. And then it's like, oh, if we would have just put a switch into this little robot, we could have figured out how to get there this entire time. Why didn't anyone ask the talking robot?
Oh, that 3PO thing.
Or the C-3PO thing. So that annoyed me for a couple reasons. One, the C-3PO was like, I'm, looking at all my friends one last time. I was like, you haven't known these people that long, 3PO. Let's be real. And two, he has a thing built into a system where he can't translate text from the Sith. Why the fuck did Anakin put that in that robot? Anakin built that robot.
Yeah, when he was a little kid.
Yeah, I'm just surprised he built that failsafe thing. And then like so it's like, okay, you're gonna have to give up your entire consciousness if you do this. Well, I'm gonna do this because it's what's best for the mission. Later on he's back to normal. So or the Chewbacca thing. Oh yes. No, Chewbacca's dead. Almost 40 seconds later, he's fine.
Yeah. It has no stakes.
No, and then especially because they can heal fucking people.
And that's where it takes it. And I will say this, because I'm going to contradict myself a little bit.
It's okay. I do it all the time.
I think that healing really works in Mandalorian. It works really well with Baby Yoda.
Especially because it seems like something that he can't just do. It
right.
Wears him out.
And people are going to say to us, well, you can't just heal anyone because, Ben Solo dies by healing Rey. That's technically what they're trying to say.
Questions about that later on too.
Which is fine I get it, but it's just a bad thing to introduce to Star Wars.
That itself is a plot hole, because I think people misuse plot hole all the time. If it can be explained using the logic of the world that you've established, it's not technically a plot hole. The reason that's a plot hole is because I don't feel like they even know the rules for how healing works yet.
Because you've already got you've got Force ghosts. They're basically giving, Star Wars has it has an afterlife, right?
Yeah, well, and I always took it as a Force ghost as a person who intentionally gives themselves to the Force. It's not quite dying.
Sure.
It's, since Force is an energy, a feeling,
yeah,
you're giving yourself into it.
Yeah. But that's as far as it needs to go. Mm-hmm. Because you still need to have consequences for things. And it just turns it into a superhero movie by not having it. Yeah. So that's a big thing. The 3PO stuff, there's a few things that annoy me about the 3PO stuff. I will say I do love the fact that Anthony Daniels had more to work with, because throughout this whole
And
sequel
correct me if
trilogy.
I'm not wrong, he shows up in one scene as himself, as a fighter pilot.
Oh, I think you might be right.
Yeah.
But he's one of those guys that I think kind of got the short end of the stick with the sequel trilogy in general. But he gets some stuff to work with here, and I like that. However, the minute, like...
The entire time Amanda kept saying, why are they bringing 3PO? Why are they bringing 3PO?
Yeah. Once he's like, oh, hey, yeah, I can't speak this Sith language, but this stuff is in my memory banks, and I know the way to this place. And I'm like... I mean, I've ridden the Star Tours line 3PO ride. He knows how to drive a ship if you need him to. Why doesn't 3PO drive a ship? Or why don't you help him get you to your location because he has the coordinates? Do we really have to go on another side quest to go figure out how to get this information out of C-3PO?
And I will say, it's funny that this movie is just a movie full of side quests, considering the thing that so many people seem to hate about Last Jedi was the side quest with Finn and Rose, but this movie's just all side quests.
Yeah. Well, and the thing, like, people don't like Last Jedi because they can't get over what your expectations are for a film.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole point of Last Jedi is that...
subvert those expectations.
Exactly. And it does it, for the most part, pretty well. I also, for the most part, don't like the side quest of Finn and Rose, but I don't... like, what it does, what it leads to, I don't mind. Like this idea that they fail. Like you spend all this time, them doing all this stuff, and it completely fails. Like I like that idea. Yeah. I just don't think the execution of it's great. But
I thought the planet was interesting, but it didn't really help the story.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a little too heavy-handed, some of that stuff. But it's just... what do I want to say now? The ideas of Rise, like the idea of doing that as a plot line, I think is a great idea for a plot line.
Mm-hmm.
Rise of Skywalker, I just don't think the plot lines are good.
No, and then what it also annoyed me about Rise of Skywalker, they tried to take themes that Rian Johnson was working with in Last Jedi, and almost try to be like, it's our idea. So it's like, Rian Johnson's his thesis statement, I guess, for Last Jedi was anyone can be special. Anyone can be anything. You can be a nobody and still be someone. And, there's hope in the galaxy. And that's, Broom Kid at the end and all of that. And then this film does a very great job of contradicting itself where the entire time it's like, nope, you're only special because you're related to someone. But then in the end, they have that line where like, who are these people? They're no Navy. They're just people. Oh, you mean the exact theme that he was trying to say in the last fucking movie? And then like there's just like little things that they could have done that wouldn't necessarily save the film for me, but it could have made it more interesting. But even like just the biggest one that I just the last line of the film, I'm Rey, and then she stares off for 5 fucking minutes, and the old lady's probably like, what's going on? Rey Skywalker. I wish he would have just been like, I'm just Rey.
Yep. That's what Jess was saying.
Yeah, like it's.
But you got to get the Rise of Skywalker thing in there because that's the title they went with, and you have to connect it back to the whole Skywalker saga because it's a Skywalker saga, not the Rey saga. So yeah. I actually think the character that it gets the most disservice in this film is Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Because what Rian Johnson did with Kylo Ren in Last Jedi is genius to me. Here's this.
Explain your thought.
Yeah, here's this character that everyone kind of knows has to be. When you see Force Awakens, you're like, oh, this character has to eventually redeem themselves. That's the immediate thought that goes in your mind when you see that movie, because that's what we're used to with this type of filmmaking. And
then Rian Johnson also humanizes him, which I like.
Rian Johnson gives you the little speck of it of going, hey, he's not killing Princess Leia. But then what he does is he completely has that character double down on being evil. Being like, I am going to destroy everything. I hate everything. Trying to blow up Luke Skywalker with everything that he's got. Telling Rey that you're just going to let the past completely die. He goes on all of this, these crazy, rants. And you end that movie going, oh my gosh, this guy
is unhinged.
And now he is in control of everything, of the biggest force that's in the galaxy, the First Order. And then within like 2 minutes in the new one, he is now just the second bad guy again. Mm-hmm. He is now just the pawn.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen what that guy could have done with the galaxy. He's like, oh, he thought the Emperor was bad. Wait until you get some Kylo Ren up in this bitch. And then, like, I think it would have been... Because then it would have also been interesting, too, with him trying to coerce Rey to the dark side, because then it feels like he is trying to get his apprentice. Because, like Yoda said in the prequels, there's always a master and there's always an apprentice.
Yeah.
But then it just makes Kylo the apprentice again. And I know Kylo's like, well, I've got a plan, we're going to kill him and all this other shit, but like...
It immediately turns him into a good guy all of a sudden.
Yep. Like, it just feel like it changes so fast. And
it goes back, in many ways, it just goes back to being every other Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being something new.
Yeah.
So that's a big problem. And then they also, like, they hint with Luke right before... Luke, dies.
And then
in Last Jedi.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about how he's like, if you kill me, I'll always be with you like your father. He's like got this idea that like Kylo Ren is being haunted by his past. And that isn't explored at all in this Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, you get Han Solo later, but not really as a haunting.
No.
It's more of like now you can be free of everything. What would have been great is if Kylo Ren is being kind of, in a way, like haunted by Luke, haunted by Han a little bit in the movie. And it should have...
And what I have to say, Kylo Ren, for me, in these films, is the most fascinating character. And a big part of it is Adam Driver's performance. I'm not going to say I'm a huge Adam Driver fan. I'm not a fan.
You will be when you see
I'm
Marriage
sure
Story.
I will. Like, he's becoming an actor I really like. But, like, going into Star Wars, I had no idea who he was. I didn't watch Girls, so I didn't really know much about him.
Yeah.
But I've grown to really like him.
Yeah.
And what I... Hear me out before you comment on it.
No, go for it.
He reminds me a lot of Hayden Christensen. In that, he is bringing everything he has to that role. Hayden Christensen was not a very good actor, and he also didn't have the best dialogue to work with. But one thing I noticed when I watched the movie most recently is he's trying. He is acting his ass off. He's just not that good of an actor, but he's bringing everything he has to this part of Anakin Skywalker. Adam Driver's doing the same thing. He's just a way better actor, and he's the most interesting thing I've ever seen, because he is so much better of an actor. But I love this idea, like this actor who's not treating the work as something beneath him. And I'm not saying Daisy Ridley or John Boyega are doing that, or even who plays Poe again?
Oscar Isaac.
I just don't feel like any of them are really doing anything. I don't feel like any of them believe the part that they're in, and I felt that in all of them. I just feel like they can say the lines where it sounds convincing, and they're there, and they're probably having a good time. The only one I feel like is actually performing is Adam Driver. And that's kind of how I felt in the prequel films, where I felt like the only one who's actually trying to do a good performance and just failing at it is Hayden Christensen.
That's really interesting that you say that. I'll have a few comments, I guess, to that. One is most people say that the one person that succeeds really well in that film, or in the prequels, is Ewan McGregor. Most people
I like
say
Ewan McGregor in that film quite a bit, but sometimes I feel like he's more doing an impersonation of Alec McGuinness, as opposed to doing anything interesting. He is good in those films. I just don't feel like he was bringing anything new to the character.
Yeah,
more so in the third film, Revenge of the Sith. But
yeah, I think that all of their acting is the best in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Hayden Christensen's the best in that one as well.
Yeah.
I think he's still getting his sea legs in part 2, but like I feel like everyone's kind of firing on that film. Because honestly, Ewan McGregor's kind of an asshole in Attack of the Clones.
I'd be interested in having you talk to our friend, our mutual friend Brian Hondyke, about this, because I haven't seen a lot of Hayden Christensen. I saw him in Jumper a long time ago, and I don't remember that movie very well. Brian swears that Hayden Christensen is a good actor.
Well,
but isn't good in the prequels.
And I'm sure he is. I'm if I've seen him in anything else, I don't remember it. But then you also have to think like they're acting against tennis balls in a completely blue-green room, and I think Hayden Christensen was pretty early in his career at that point as well. And it's kind of hard to act against nothing.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I know, like, Natalie Portman struggled with it.
Like, even just, like, the infamous sand line. He is... The way he's delivering it... like I said, every scene he's in, whether he's successful or not, I can definitely see him trying to do a good performance.
Yeah.
Whereas, I love Samuel L. Jackson. He's there for the fucking paycheck.
Oh, yeah.
In every scene. Natalie Portman is just kind of there.
What's interesting is, like, Samuel L. Jackson shouldn't be there for the paycheck, because he basically went out of his way to make George Lucas give him a role.
And maybe he's
but he's
doing something. He's just very one note.
Yeah, he's not very good in those movies.
But like, going back to it, it's like I saw lots of what Hayden Christensen was attempting to do in what Adam Driver's doing successfully, and they don't have the through line that the prequels do of Anakin's build, because Anakin's story and his rise and fall to the dark side has a very logical and very clear through line. He's all over the place, but I can almost see as an actor that he's got something in his own mind that he's dealing with and he's working with, and he's got his own acting through line, whether or not that's being shown on screen.
And I will say, when it comes to the sequel trilogy compared to the prequel trilogy, I think the prequel trilogy is better, but it's primarily better because of what you're saying. Both the sequel trilogy and the prequel trilogy are trilogies riddled with bad ideas or poorly executed ideas in terms of, like, something might be a good idea, but how it's explained is awful.
I think I described it one time as the prequel trilogy is too high concept for its own good. It's trying too many big, risky ideas in some cases.
Sure.
And the sequel trilogy is not trying enough.
Well, the sequel trilogy is just schizophrenic.
Yeah.
That's the big problem with that. Like, yeah, Force Awakens doesn't try enough ideas. That's for sure. I don't think that the next two don't. They just try different ideas, and they're wrestling with each other. It's wrestling, trying to figure out what it is as a trilogy. But what it does do well, like the acting, I feel, in the sequel trilogy is pretty spot on. Yeah, some people don't look like they're giving it their A game, but the performances still are better.
No one's bad.
Right, exactly. And the same is true, like, even when we were in middle school in 2002, the CGI in Attack of the Clones was looked at as being pretty bad back then even. Mm-hmm. And the CG, no one's going to complain about the CGI in these new movies. It's pretty spot on. It's pretty good.
It's kind of crazy when I rewatched the prequels very recently. Yeah, I agree. The CGI in Attack of the Clones isn't very good. It's also really bad in Phantom Menace, but there's a lot less of it.
Yeah.
So it kind of hides it.
Totally.
But the Gungans look terrible.
Yeah.
But then when we watch the third one, it's like, holy shit, this would hold up with a lot of what's in the new ones.
Yeah. There's a good portion of it that does.
But I had a point I was going to make, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, since we were talking about healing before, and we're talking now about the prequels, me and Amanda were debating this. Rey being able to heal, doesn't that... I always took the healing as being a sign of the dark side, being the power of the dark side. I thought that's what Palpatine was leading with Anakin.
Wait a second. What is she?
Fair enough, but then it also goes back to the idea of Baby Yoda. But also, here's
it does.
It does.
Isn't that interesting?
But here's the thing. just because Rey is a Palpatine, does that mean she's a Sith? Because she's been trained in the Jedi this entire time. Kylo would make more sense because he has been a Sith up until this point.
Yeah, so the idea, I guess...
Once again, I just feel like they don't really know their own rules.
I mean, I get what they're trying to do with it. It's not always about training. You know, what they're trying to say with Rey, and it's a silly thing, I think, but what they're trying to say is that some of, I guess, your force powers are inherited, right? So she's inheriting, I guess, the lightning from Palpatine in a sense.
Okay. I guess I can buy that.
It's kind of silly.
I also had questions about Leia and her connection to Kylo. I've been trying to explain this in my head since the second screening, and I cannot fucking figure out the connection between. I get the connection between between Leia and Kylo, but why she died that one time and then her body disappeared the second time? Like, did she? What?
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make.
And I was really trying to come up with a way that made sense, just so I didn't seem like a fucking idiot when we were having this conversation. But I cannot explain that a way where it makes sense.
No, I don't get it. Some people I've read have said that like she gave her last force power bit of force so that, or her bit of life essence to help Ben Solo, save Rey. But I'm like, I don't get that seeing that scene. Like, and granted, maybe you don't have to make things obvious, but I feel like in these types of movies, you have to make it kind of obvious. And that is not how I felt. I was just like, I just don't understand what
and
this
I was also thinking, so if Palpatine made Snoke,
mm-hmm.
and then Snoke gave Rey and Kylo the capability to communicate with each other and even send items back and forth to each other, why didn't Palpatine just fucking nip that in the bud?
Well, so I mean, this goes back to like we don't really know what. So is Palpatine Snoke exactly? Just in a different body, or is he just the idea of Palpatine?
And then also like with Rey being, or the Palpatine adds this whole idea of like potential incest.
How so?
Because in the prequels, Palpatine pretty much admits to the almost like a divine intervention type thing of being the reason that Anakin's mom got pregnant with him.
Oh, there certainly is an implication that might be the case, and I'm trying to think if I read the comic books too. I try to keep up with as much of Star Wars canon as I can, and I think that the comic books maybe affirm that too. That Palpatine might
because Anakin's mom there wasn't a father.
Yeah,
it's not direct incestual, but
and it also is it an immaculate conception like Jesus,
force baby,
right? It might be something along those lines too, but even so, I guess maybe that's why there's a dyad between them.
Then maybe you can, because me and Amanda have also been trying to figure out the math of this. When the hell was Palpatine's daughter born? That this makes sense. I've been trying to figure it out, like rough ideas. Well, if Rey is, would you say mid-20s?
Sure.
I would say her parents look to be at least in their 30s, maybe late 20s, 30, to mid-30s.
Yeah.
I am trying to figure out, because I can never remember how much time has passed between each movie, where they were a thing.
I can help you do this math.
Cool, because I'm struggling here.
So, from what I understand, Force Awakens takes place 20 to 30 years before Return of the Jedi. I think it's 30 years before Return of the Jedi. Rise of Skywalker takes place 5 years after Force Awakens. So there's a 35 year gap between Return of the Jedi and
So I can
Rise of
buy
Skywalker.
that Palpatine's parents were.
So Palpatine's parents would have been born during the Galactic Civil War era.
So right.
During a new either during the New Hope to Return of the Jedi time or beforehand.
Gross. If it was like during like the original 3 films, gross. Like, I assume he had a harem of women, just very much like a Morton, Joe, and Mad Max. But
he is the emperor.
Gross.
All powerful.
I also had I commented to Amanda when we saw when they had to go get the Wayfinder from his vault. I love that his vault's not locked. She just walks up to it and it opens.
Oh, you're talking about Kylo Ren's?
No, the one at the
the second one?
The Emperor's on the blown up Death Star. Because she had to get the Wayfinder from his vault.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just more of an observation.
Yeah,
it's not
that's a good point.
Or it wasn't. You didn't have to get a safe cracker to get into it or anything.
I guess he was on his Death Star, so he didn't care. I don't know.
So we've talked a lot about what we didn't like. And if there's anything else you want to add to why I just like honestly, this is
I could go on.
This is my least favorite Star Wars.
John Boyega, Finn, and Poe, they are completely forgotten about.
Yeah.
About a half of the way through the movie. All of a sudden, their storyline doesn't matter.
Nope.
J.J. Abrams is trying to do J.J. Abrams things with Finn. This whole idea that Finn is all of a sudden a Force user is stupid silly, especially when you think about how awful of a failure Finn is in Last Jedi. Like, the fact that plotline goes nowhere. Shouldn't he have seen that if he's all of a sudden a Force user? Like, what is this crap?
And like, I can buy the George Lucas's concept of, to an extent, everyone has a connection to it. It's whether or not you're open to it. But
it's stupid to think that he's Force sensitive.
I want to see his midichlorian level. Damn it.
Yeah. Especially because whether people want to believe it or not, you watch Force Awakens, and it is very clear in the way that he performs that character to me that he like has a thing for Rey. Yeah. And that's okay. Romance is in Star Wars. It is okay.
Romance is in practically every movie.
Right. So the fact that they're like, well, let's just turn this maybe romance thing into, no, he's just a Force user maybe guy is BS. And then the whole, like, the fight with the Star Destroyers is...
With the horses?
With the horses is bad. And even the spacey part of it, like with the fighters, is, like, just uninteresting.
And then, like, on top of it, I feel like there was a very big wasted opportunity in all the films with Finn trying to actually start a revolution with the stormtroopers.
Thank you.
And also, it's like he's a former stormtrooper. He knows what they go through. He knows that a lot of them are fostered from children to be this. Yet none of them have any problem killing them and shooting them.
He loves murdering him some stormtroopers.
And then it's like also like just his character in Rise of Skywalker seems like such a departure from what he was in the last 2 films. Because the last 2 films, he was flat out fucking a coward who started to find his bravery. I have a hard time believing that he's just like rootin' tootin' shooting cowboy in this one with giant laser rifles and like I don't buy the fact. I could buy the fact that he would stay behind and potentially sacrifice himself for a mission. I can see that in that character in all these films, but he just seems like such an action hero in this film that it just I don't buy it.
There's so many missed, like, so I spent the third time I watched this movie, because since watching it the first time, I've been doing a lot of thinking about, like, how I would have, like, if I had the chance, and I know this is a stupid, nerdy thing to think, but, like, if I had the chance to be like, hey, Kyle, you're given a chance to rewrite this movie, of what I would have done with it. Because there are so many blown opportunities for plot lines that are so clearly there that they don't like explore. And the biggest one of that is Hux should have been a traitor to Kylo Ren, but he should have been a traitor to Kylo Ren in service of the Emperor, keeping him alive so that the final face-off that Hux has is against Finn. Because those two are the ones that are are in a opposition to each other. Yeah. People talk about Finn and Phasma. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of true, but it's also very true that Hux and Finn do not like each other. And represent the complete opposite of ends of the spectrum. Hux is the guy who is in charge of the First Order, believes in this First Order. Finn is the traitor. He's the guy who goes against them.
Mm-hmm.
You have Finn be a traitor to Kylo Ren, giving them something that is similar. They both are a traitor. Hux is just a traitor to the bad guys, and Finn is just a traitor to the good guys.
Yeah.
And then you have them face off in a way where Hux is this guy who believes in what the stormtroopers are doing. He believes in this idea of harvesting the youth when they're young and making them stormtroopers. And Finn is showing that those people can be saved. And going back to the point that you had made, it's sort of the way you end that storyline is by having an uprising of stormtroopers against Hux that Finn is the one in charge of. Because it's just right there. That's what makes it makes good storytelling. And B, it's good character development.
Yeah.
So there's that stuff. Poe, he's just there to whip up a few jokes, and he has a good speech. He has a really good speech before they go into battle. That is sort of destroyed by the fact that half of it is a voiceover. There's the images of basically the Resistance getting ready to go into space. If they would have kept on him, I think that scene would have made a lot more impact, and it would have shown him to be the leader that he finally became.
Yeah. I also feel because here's how little his resurgence impacted me. I couldn't even tell you what the fuck he was talking about. Luke coming back in this film and having his speech, it's just I feel like it was wasted.
Yeah.
And especially too because you have to treat respect with your weapon. It's that line was just thrown in there to retcon what had happened in the previous film.
I think it's there to show that Luke has grown as a character.
And that's eventually how I explained it, but that was my original gut reaction to it. I don't know. The more I think about it, and the more I think about Rey's progression, and then her eventually taking the Skywalker name, and I just feel like that's everything Luke wouldn't have wanted her to do. The Luke that we were presented in these new 3 films, I just very much get the feeling of you need to create your own path, and you need to create, or even what I think would have worked in the film is, but instead of her saying Rey Skywalker, she would have said Rey Palpatine, because Leia has her whole line earlier in the film about how you can't run from who you are.
True. Yeah,
I feel because where the Jedi Order has become, because there is no Jedi Order, it's just a couple rogue Jedis, if there's any, who are trying to figure out their place. And I feel instead of trying to recreate the Jedi for what they were, you need to kind of find your own path.
Sure, I do. Last Jedi, one thing I love about it is what it says about the past in terms of the good side of it. Because, Luke is all about destroying the past too. He wants to destroy the Jedi. And Rey is the one smart enough to pick the books up, take the books with her, and be like, hey, no, the Jedi and the history is still important. Yeah.
Luke's whole thing, I think, is more cut up the rigidness of it. And...
Well, his whole, the whole reason why he goes to that island is so that the Jedi can end. Mm-hmm. Right? And Rey is the one who sees that there's still an importance in the past. There's still an importance of what those Jedi are. But that's something, too, that's it's not really explained. It's one of those things that could have been expanded on in this new movie of okay, now Rey's got those books. It's 5 years later. Why isn't she teaching some new people how to use the Force? And especially when you
and her even struggling with it, because I think that's one thing that kind of no one talks about. Luke was never, he was trained to be a Jedi to an extent, but he didn't have the same training that, say, Obi-Wan had. Mm-hmm. He had to figure it out. He had to use these books. He had to interpret. He had to probably misinterpret a lot of what's being said, and he had no one he could call upon.
She's got Leia,
But
right,
Leia learned it all from Luke. And Luke was figuring it out himself.
Sure. It's
like when someone tells you a story, but they don't remember all the details, and you retell it to someone,
Yeah. I also think, like, they brought back, or I shouldn't say they brought back, they brought in the Knights of Ren. Which... Yeah.
Those exist.
Which, we should talk about that in a little bit, but, it's another thing of, like, if Rey is training kids or something, or, not just kids, just training Force users, it very clearly could lead to a battle between the Knights of Ren and these Force users. Is like an actual way to utilize them that would have made some sense. But talking about them, the Knights of Ren, what the hell was that?
I feel like they've been talking about them since what, Force Awakens?
Yeah, Jess said, "Oh, the Knights of Ren are just in Rise of Skywalker to steal all the boy band shots." Like, they're just a bunch of them, like, standing on a hill looking ominous and, like, all this crap. And they're, like, supposed to be the Knights of Kylo Ren. And then, for no reason that anyone knows, they decide to turn on the master of the Knights of Ren and try to fight Kylo Ren at the end. Why do they try to fight Kylo Ren at the end? I don't know. Why they turn on him?
The Knights of Palpatine.
Right. When did they become that? Why are they that? Why are they in this movie? Too. Like, did we actually... It was such a stupid line in The Force Awakens to just bring up these random things.
And, like, I was kind of excited for the idea of them because, like, the way I understood the Knights of Ren to be was going off of what Luke said is, like, after he had the whole miscommunication of Kylo and Kylo ran off with the rest of his students...
Mm-hmm.
I was figured, here are some Jedi or some Sith warriors that he's trained who had a little bit of experience with the Force.
Which would have made sense. And it would have made sense to have them face the Jedi that Rey could have trained with all this Force knowledge in books that she has.
It's like, balance is always the thing with the Force and with Star Wars. And I feel like these I keep saying prequels, these sequel films kind of forgot about the whole idea of balancing the Force, an even amount of dark as there is to light.
Yeah, it's silly. The whole movie
and also,
is silly.
So the Force, as I've always known, was how did Yoda describe it? Or maybe it was Obi-Wan. It's the in-between. It's the Force. It's the power of all living things.
Yeah. And
the kinetic energy between everything.
Yeah.
How the fuck did Palpatine rise ships? And how did he staff those so quickly? And why were there so many of them?
The staffing of them is silly. So...
Did they have a recruitment fair? On this planet that no one can get to?
Right, exactly. It doesn't make any sense. It's one of those things, too, that I'm like, you know what would have made sense? It would have been really cool if now that the First Order has been in power for 5 years, they have enough regular First Order Star Destroyers without a stupid laser cannon that they can surround a planet and blow it up. Yeah. Like, having a fleet of Star Destroyers is a good idea. Having a fleet of the Emperor's Star Destroyers that are frozen in a block of ice but have people to man them is not a good idea.
I also love, too, that, like, anytime a character in the movie questions something that the screenwriter didn't have an answer for, they just get force choked. So it's like, why did Palpatine give you these? Were these a gift? Where'd they come? And all this force choke. Yeah. Get the fuck out of here.
Why was he... I'm like, why did he get force choked? Like,
and then the guy who takes over for Hux, are we supposed to know who this guy is?
And that's another thing, too. It almost feels like you're supposed to know who he is.
Yeah, because like, I served you in the last one. I'm like, did you?
Right, exactly.
Who are you? And he looks vaguely familiar.
But he's definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. That actor, Richard E. Grant, is great. I'm forgetting the name of the movie. There's a movie that came out, I believe, last year with Melissa McCarthy. That is
the movie about the writer. Yeah, it's on HBO right now. I want to watch it.
Check that movie out. He's really good in it. He's very good in it. Here he just plays a villain.
We've spent the last hour What's the runtime on this? So
hour and 15 minutes. You might need to make this 2 episodes. I don't know.
No. It's gonna be one. So, well, I guess we'll see how far this continues on, because this might be a logical break. So we've talked about a lot about what we don't like about the movie. I'm trying to think of things that I did like, and I'm sure they exist, like say like set design or things like that.
You mean
there's
all the
dumb
things that
shit that I'm sure I enjoyed that I can grasp on.
Right.
I like the robot that doesn't like being touched. He's kind of cool. No thank you. Me and Amanda just walk into each other all the time and just say no thank you all the time, just because we think it's funny as hell. It doesn't serve the story, but we think it's funny. Where would you put this movie in your rankings?
Oh, so we're not even going to talk about what we like about the movie.
Do you have stuff? Because I don't. Well, I mean, it's there. It's there, I'm sure. I just don't. I can't grasp it.
Yes. I'll say a few things.
Tell me what you like,
just
Kyle.
to
Maybe
give
it'll jog my memory.
Because it's funny. I recently went into one of the places that I freelance for, and I had a very long discussion. And at the time, this was before I saw it the 3rd time, and I went, oh, yeah, I'm content with this movie. And then I proceeded to say all of these things I don't like about the movie. And then the guy went, oh, so what do you like? And at the time, I was like, I don't know if I like anything. I will say I like a few things. I think Babu Frick is a fun character. That's the character that...
yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that...
Voiced by the actress who did Moaning Myrtle in Harry Potter.
Very weird, but
yeah.
He's fun little addition to the universe.
It's C-3PO's oldest friend.
Yes. I also think that Zori Bliss, the rogue person that Poe knows, I think she's actually a good character.
I think she'd be cool if we got a little more with her. But
I agree with that.
Especially because the way that she was written, it felt very much like we were supposed to really know who this character. Just because it's like Zori's here, like all this was this the first time we've seen her? It's hard for me to feel your excitement, Poe.
Well, he's not excited. He's scared.
No, near the end of the film when they're doing the whole
yeah. But that's the whole ending of that movie is paced.
Yeah. Anyway, so you liked her. I thought it was cool that we never saw her face. I thought that was kind of neat.
I liked I actually think oddly enough the part where I got the most emotional was when she hands him that chip so they can get on the Star Destroyer.
Yeah, I like that.
And she's like, just go and help your friend or whatever. I thought for that moment worked really well. Especially for a character that we don't know a whole lot about. I thought they were able to convey what they needed to convey with her for us to have
that was
emotional
her
response.
Save the Cat moment.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with the book Save the Cat. That was her Save the Cat moment.
So that's something I really liked. I'm trying to think if and the planet that they're on too during that time, I think is a really cool planet. That sort of snowy.
Yeah, we haven't got snow much.
Yeah, and I love the fact that we get to see the First Order occupy a place, what that's like to be under First Order occupation, because in general, the movies, whether they're in whatever doesn't matter what era they're in, you never see that enough of what's it actually like to be under the Emperor's rule, under the First Order's rule. You get that a little bit with Tatooine, you see that the stormtroopers are walking around trying to do some, stuff. But for a film that takes place 5 years after Last Jedi, where the First Order is reigning supreme, I wanted to see more of that, and that gave me a little bit of that, and I like that about it. I'm not sure if there's much else I like.
I really liked the celebration planet there, the planet they went to, and they're in the big party. Where they're having the color festival or whatever.
Oh, sure.
I remember thinking that entire sequence is cool because it's kind of nice to see something in Star Wars that's not so fucking dire. Here it is a planet where, this is a big celebration for them. It's kids having fun. Even though you get the idea that they're under First Order reign, it's it's nice to see people celebrating something and
totally
having fun.
100%, and that is a fun.
It did remind me though of one thing that another thing that annoyed me about the movie. So since they kept trying to really lay it on thick that Poe has a shady past. Poe has a shady past. Oh, it's when he hotwired the vehicle and it was how do you know how to do that? It's is it just me or do I not have a hard time believing that a guy who works for the Rebel Alliance or whatever they're called now, who's a star pilot, knows how to hotwire something.
Exactly. But
Finn said it 3 or 4 times throughout the movie. It's we gonna talk about your shady past? And it's what about that made you think, like...
Yes, I agree.
I feel like if I was a really good pilot or a really good driver, and technically all the rebels are technically outlaws, I feel like it's a trick you'd pick up.
Yes.
I am not a convict, but I taught myself how to pick a lock.
There you go. It's a really stupid thing. Like, I like that through Zori we get some of Poe's past.
Yeah,
and understand that
he has nothing.
Right, and I like that we get the fact that he has this sort of checkered past. That's cool, but you're completely correct in that being the wrong way to hint at it. Because what rebel wouldn't be able to hotwire something
like it's first class
to get out of a first order situation? Of course. Yeah, it's a very silly thing.
Yeah. I liked Rey's yellow lightsaber. I thought that was cool. I did
too, and the way that she flicks it on.
That was cool. It was like, like, nice.
I like that Lando's in the movie. I don't think he's. I think that.
I think if he would have been at the first part, like in like the little like village, I feel like there was a little too much Lando that we needed.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know, like, I just... Even in the original 3 films, I never viewed Lando as, like, a rebel hero. I feel like he kind of got roped into it, and he's friends of Han, so he's going to help.
Totally.
But, like, I just never... General Lando! I'm like, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I love Lando. He's a fun
do, too.
Character. I'm glad that he's back in the series, and I think what I really like about it in this movie is... It's nice to see that Billy D. Williams can still play him.
Yeah, he seemed like he was having a good time playing him, too. I also love, unrelated to Billy D. Williams, that Rey's master plan was to go fucking bury the lightsabers in fucking Tatooine.
Yeah, I know some people have shit on that. I don't mind.
I just think it's funny. Like, of all the places.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I get it.
Why Leia's never been there.
Well, yeah, she has. She's... a slave to a big
fair enough.
slug.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Let's go bury her. Let's say where she was a sex slave to a slug.
Yeah.
I just think I love seeing the location back on screen, but like my thought process was like, last time Luke was here, he was looking at his aunt and uncle being pulverized. Or he was saving his sister from being a sex slave to a slug. This planet sucks.
I don't mind it from a storytelling perspective. It's nice, but it is the thing that I dislike about that scene. Well, there's two things. I think the CGI of their ghosts are really bad. Luke and Leia's ghosts.
I guess I've never thought any of the Force ghosts looked that particularly good, so I guess I never really cared enough.
In the original trilogy, I feel like the Force ghosts are pretty good, and I thought Yoda's Force ghost was pretty good in Last Jedi.
Okay.
But the other thing that is a very minor thing, but I knew it bothered me from the moment I saw it or heard it, the first shot on Tatooine, you see her like fly the Falcon past Jawas and a sandcrawler, which is a very Tatooine thing, but they're like, I don't know if people are going to understand that these are Jawas, so they add in like the Jawa noises, like the ootini, which I love that line, but it is so out of place in that moment that it's like, you didn't need to do that. People get it. Like, they get where you are. You don't need to add that line to make sure we get it. So that's a very minor complaint compared to everything else that we talked about.
Yeah, I've got little minor complaints, too, that if there was just these minor complaints, it wouldn't have hurt the movie for me. Like, J.J. Abrams putting cameos for all of his friends in there.
Yeah.
Like, did we need Dominic Monaghan or Greg Grunberg? Because the complaints online are that Rose didn't have enough to do. Couldn't you have just given Rose all those characters' lines?
So I've heard that, there's a...
Oh, and the last thing was, especially during the first scene with Poe and Finn, all these fucking weird alien creatures that are on the Falcon for some reason now that we're supposed to know.
Slug thing?
Just win the war, that guy. And like, who are these people?
I don't mind that guy. I minded the slug a little bit.
The slug guy was weird. But anyways.
Oh, what was I going to say?
Something about Rose, Dominic Monaghan.
Oh, yeah. So there is there's a lot that's going around about this movie, obviously.
Yep.
One of the big things is that there's, just like there's a Zack Snyder cut, there's a J.J. Abrams cut.
Apparently there's also a George Lucas cut.
That
where
I
he
didn't hear
recut
about.
the ending, and
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what I've been hearing.
But I've heard about this J.J. Abrams cut that's supposed to be like 3 hours long. As a Star Wars nut, of course, I'm interested in it. I don't think it will save the movie. I think the movie's problems
I'd be intrigued to see it. I'd watch it again for that.
But I would watch that. In that cut is apparently more with Rose.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah. And more with Leia and all that too. So.
Which, that stuff already was kind of...
Yeah.
It's like, good. Before I knew how they did it, it still felt weird.
Yeah.
Because, like, I knew it wasn't natural, and something about it just seemed off. But then when I found out how they did it, too, it felt especially rigid.
Yeah, so it's very strange.
All right, and that is part 1 of me and Kyle's Star Wars conversation. We realize after being, an hour and 20 minutes in, that it's getting kind of long, and we still want to talk about Star Wars as a whole. So we are going to break this up. And next week you can continue our conversation about everything to do with Star Wars, but more realistically, how much I might actually like the prequels. So join us next week. You can find us on pretty much every form of podcast listening service available. Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Libsyn, Stitcher. We are on Twitter, Instagram, all that. And we just launched a Patreon for the podcast, which is pretty exciting. You can find us, I think it's patreon.com/shamelesspictureshow. We have a $1 tier, which gets you a verbal shout out on the show. And our deepest gratitude. A $5 tier where you get exclusive bonus audio, where you can actually hear an episode where me and Kyle just talk pretty in-depthly about, not in-depth, but we talk about Marriage Story, the blocking that went into our philosophies on blocking when it comes to films, and then just a little bit of everything else as well. And then we have, and that's under the $5 tier, which also gets you a sticker. And then we have a $50 tier, which we don't expect many people to subscribe to, but we get it all the time where people have ideas for episodes or even want to be on an episode. So what you get by joining the $50 tier is you get to be on an episode or choose a subject that you want to hear us talk about. The sticker, you get the thank you, get all that, and you get an exclusive button as well that we've had made. So yeah, you can check us out there.
You have any thank yous you gotta do?
I don't have the list. Actually, yes, I do, because we only have 2 of them right now. So let me do the thank yous for Patreon. I don't know if this is going to be our first episode back for season 4, or if it's going to be second or third or something like that. So these people might get thanked more than once, but who cares? So we have 2 new patrons for the Patreon. We have Robert Ward, also known as Flounder. He's a friend of mine that I met through another mutual friend. And then Joshua Barnes. So both of them are new patrons, and expect some cool stuff soon.
The Shameless Picture Show is recorded in Milwaukee, Wisconsin and Easton, Maryland, is hosted and produced by Nick Richards and Michael Viers, and is more often than not edited by Michael Viers. Any TV or YouTube versions of the show to date have been edited by Nick Richards, Tyler Hanna, or Dina Villani. Our opening theme music was written especially for us by The Directionals, with narration from Zach McLean. The end credit music you're enjoying at the moment was generously provided by my friends in the band 10 Speed, and our new kick-ass logo was designed by Amanda Viers. A special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters and to our generous sponsors at Mill Creek Entertainment and Vinegar Syndrome. We are on Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, Google Play, and Libsyn. You can find links to all these tremendous folks, as well as the show, in the description below. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe.